Well, good afternoon or good afternoon. I mean, it may be afternoon from one of our guests in our or one of our audience members. It is afternoon because he's all the way from Scotland. So we are excited to have him here, and all those of you out there in our live streaming world. We are excited that you have joined us at the Building U 2022 conference here that we're hosting this year. Really, we're focused on building you and encouraging you in your career, entrepreneurship, things that you may have, business, wherever you're at. Really, it's focused on building you. And yesterday we had two wonderful sessions, and we talked about someone that came from, was it a dialysis patient, went from dialysis patient to an AA to a CCHT to an RN, and then went up even higher. So it is possible for someone that is on dialysis that got a transplant to even get into the renal industry. And then we heard from a biomed that talked about all of his wonderful experience. And trust me, I was intrigued by all those machines and everything like that as well. But today we're going to be focusing on you as well. And today I'm really excited because I have a wonderful speaker here. I met her back in around 2019, the middle or so. I'd heard her first speak at NANT in Las Vegas in 2019, where she did a wonderful job speaking. We didn't meet at NANT. I saw her speak at NANT, but we met her through a phone call, and ever since then we've conversed back and forth. Our first conversation, it was a wonderful conversation talking about some of the things that, as far as investing in yourself, talking about time management, what we like to read, and things like that. And then she actually hosted or moderated an event for us this last spring. So I'm really excited. Mandy Tilton, she has a phenomenal story. She used to work in dialysis. She used to work for one of the major corporations out there and did a fantastic job. But Mandy now is the Chief Nursing Officer at Bayada, and we're excited to have her here. I'm really excited to introduce her to y'all. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mandy Tilton. Mandy, take it away.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to share my screen and some slides in just a moment. But before I do that, I just wanted to say hi to everybody and say, especially Aunt Hugh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited about the topic of kidney trails and the idea of building yourself. The neatest thing about investing in yourself is you're guaranteed 100% return on investment. When you're investing in yourself and challenging yourself and building your knowledge base and confidence, the sky is the limit. I'll end with the slide that shows this too, but in my family, when my kids were growing up, we were always really big Toy Story and Buzz Lightyear fans. And so, as we like to say here when we're talking about our dreams, to infinity and beyond. And that's what's available to all of you. To Anthony, your leader, and to me. So the sky's the limit. Let's talk a little bit about how to build that foundation. I'm going to share some slides here with you. All right, here we go. So today we're going to talk a little bit about being your best self. Before I jump into the details of the presentation, though, I would like to just give you a little bit of background. I actually had the amazing opportunity to enter into the amazing world of kidney care, and specifically dialysis at the time, when I was just 19 years old. I entered into dialysis as a patient care technician and decided to go to nursing school. I had an interesting journey to find my way into the world of dialysis. When I was a young kid, I had frequent kidney infections related to just kind of a bit of a, I guess, deformity or like malformed issue with my kidney. And so spent a lot of time in the hospital. My mom, who was a nurse actually at the local hospital where I was frequently at, became really interested in renal and in kidneys because of my experience. So interested that she actually became a dialysis nurse, so switched from her medical surgical nursing into dialysis. I watched her make that transition, And as a younger person and throughout my teen years, would go to her dialysis unit to maybe take her a coffee or visit her or all, any of the things you would do when you go to see your mom at work, and was just always so amazed by how close the relationships were. Everyone knew who my sister and I were when we went there. And it was just really neat to see her in action. So I was so impressed that, again, I became a dialysis patient care technician and went to nursing school. When I graduated nursing school, I stayed working in dialysis and actually worked in in-center hemodialysis. And then as the years would go by, I also worked in acute dialysis or in the hospital setting and home dialysis as well. So I had a wonderful 20-year career where I was doing that. I now am able to continue to do what I love, which is take care of other people through my work at Bayada Home Healthcare, where I am the chief nursing officer there currently. So that's a little bit of background about me. From an education perspective, I did start with my associate's degree in nursing, and here's a master's in nursing. I did get my master's in business administration, and then currently also now hold a doctorate degree in nursing practice, and I am a CNN, which is a certified nephrology nurse as well. So I think the most important thing to start us off here is to talk about caring for ourselves. Now, I know self-care is a thing that a lot of us talk about, and what I'm going to take you through today isn't maybe as much as you would see or think about, like doing like a yoga class or something. I want to kind of talk about laying a foundation, something that you do every day so you can give people the best of you, not just what's left of you. So it's really important as you yourself to take excellent care of yourself. The better you feel, the more you're fueled physically and mentally, the more you'll be able to build upon that to, again, reach that infinity and beyond. So these are some of the kind of basic tips that I would offer, things that I try to practice myself. Nobody's perfect, right? But things that are important to me too. So first of all, keep yourself as healthy as possible. Eat well, and that means different things to different people based on what their specific body needs are. But do the best you can in that area. I like to think as food as fueling my body. So I'll feel better and I have the energy that I need to do all the things that I want to accomplish. The next important thing is getting exercise. And this does not mean that you need to become enter a bodybuilding competition or something like that. But keep yourself as active as possible for what works for you. This exercise not only helps keep your body strong and ready to take on all the tasks that you want to, but when you exercise, endorphins are released. So there's a lot of mental benefits too, to getting whatever level of exercise is right for you. After a walk or something of that, of course, you have done the right thing for your muscles and things. You just kind of feel good too. And then sleeping. I worry sometimes that our society is kind of put like a hero label on people who sleep minimally or things of that nature. But sleep is so important. I heard once at a seminar by a physician, sleep described as kind of when your brain washes and resets itself for the next day. So really invest in that time so you can be fresh, ready to go, ready to learn, and ready to succeed every morning. Other things that I think are important are, first of all, avoid double booking when you mean no. I coupled those two together because I'm also going to have a few slides on time management. Not only is it important to keep your body and your mind as healthy and energized as you can, but also we're all limited in time. So it's important to think about every moment that we're spending and to do that wisely. As I said, we'll dive into that a little bit deeper here in just a minute, but these are two things that I think were critical to call out. When we double book, and by that I mean I have myself set for a commitment somewhere, but also a commitment somewhere else, we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure. And so it's important to be looking towards the future and to make sure that we're going to meet all the obligations that we have signed up for, so we don't let ourselves down, but also so we don't let others down. And again, we'll get into a little bit more detail in just a minute here. And then this is, I think, maybe the most empowering statement I'll make throughout the presentation. Don't say maybe when you mean no. So often we are put in a situation where there's so many demands on us, but as caring people, we don't want to say no. So we kind of avoid the uncomfortable moment by saying maybe, even though we know it's an obligation or a request we won't be able to fill. So I'd like you to feel empowered and maybe have permission to say no when you need to. And offering an explanation is also a comfortable way to do that. But life just throws so many demands at us. And going back to that kind of time thing, we only have so many minutes and hours in a day. It's really important to give yourself permission to feel comfortable, to set yourself up for success. You'll also role model that, which is really important for other people, because I think most of us just want to be able to say yes to everyone and everything. Another item that I think is so important for setting yourself up for success is to declutter your work environment or your environment in general, wherever it is that you're finding yourself spending time to do the things that you love to do, whether that's writing, whether it's hosting events like this, getting a CV or a resume together, needing quiet time to reflect. There is research that shows that if we're in a cluttered environment, our minds kind of get a little cluttered as well. So I like to be disciplined. Again, I'm not perfect. There is once in a while I walk into my office and I'm like, wow, where did all this mess come from? But I really like to be as disciplined as I can in working in an environment that's clutter-free. This last point then, I know is easier said than done, but disconnecting occasionally. And that means from work, maybe. That could mean from social media. That could mean from intaking things in different channels like news or something like that. But once in a while, allow yourself to just be without all the distractions of the outside world. So again, I am not standing before you claiming to be perfect in any of these, but these are things that I really try to adhere to and remind myself to do. And then I'm honest, when I catch myself kind of going off the rails on one of these things, I try to just course correct and get back on the right path, if you will. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about time management. I just think this is so important. In addition to taking care of our bodies, we have to really understand where and how we're spending our time to build our best selves. And there's really three main pieces of time management that I've read about, that I've spoken with others about, and I personally believe are true. And these are planning, organization, and prioritization. So I found this neat quote about planning that I wanted to share. And this is: plan your work for today and every day, and then work your plan. How many of you have ever had a day where you just feel like it got out of control? Maybe you had a beautiful to-do list, or there was one major thing you were going to accomplish. Sadly, my cleaning out the garage project has been delayed for several months now. But when we think through and schedule time and create a plan, we can probably be more likely to accomplish the things on that list. But then also you are ready and nimble to put out any fires, if you will, that show up along the way. So if I have a plan and I know what the top 3 or 5 items are I need to accomplish that day, that week, that month, or have some things scheduled, when other things get in the way, I can kind of quick think about, do I need to reprioritize these, and what does that look like? Calendars are a really great way to do this sort of planning. So I will admit I am pretty rigorous in this area. I like to calendar everything. So for me, I like to do that with my computer and use my calendar there. So that way I have it on my phone, I have it on my computer. Paper calendars and planners are a wonderful option too. Those can be really fun. I see now they come with all sorts of like stickers and bookmarks and placeholders and inspirational quotes. But for me, I feel like if I put it on my calendar, I'm committed to it. It's almost like making an appointment with somebody else where I know I'll show up. I'll show up for myself if there's a priority that I have on that calendar. When you calendar things, you should start your day by looking at your calendar and your to-do list and not your inbox. So for those of you who spend a lot of time on email or maybe get a lot of things on text or other types of apps, it is so easy to just get swept away in those things. Again, guilty as well. There's been times where I have a great list of things I want to do. I start getting in my emails, and before I know it, an hour and a half has gone by, and I'm, kind of surfing through all my emails, or maybe got caught up on a guilty pleasure, Pinterest or something of that nature. But really, if we can stay as structured as possible, we accomplish more if we follow our calendars and our appointments to ourselves, and if we look at our to-do lists. These tips will help you be proactive instead of reactive. Personally, for me, I just feel so much better when I have a day that is planned and I'm doing the things that I committed to myself I would do, versus just kind of showing up in the morning and wondering what the day is going to bring me, because we all know life is very busy and it gets a little wild sometimes. So personally, for me, I find that I'm able to build myself more, able to accomplish more, and I just feel better inside when I am able to be a little bit more proactive. Then this helps me set the tone. So when I know what I need to accomplish and I have my goals, I make better informed choices when I'm doing things like emails or responding to requests from other people. Organization is the next key thing. Again, found a great quote about organization. And for some reason, every time I read this quote, I do it in a sing-songy voice. So I apologize up front. I just think this has a nice rhythm to it. And it's organization is what you do before you do something, so that when you do it, it's not all mixed up. And I love that idea of planning. I talked about the calendars and to-do lists and how that can help stay organized. I think another great helpful tip for you, because it was helpful when it was given to me in the past, was turning off distractions. And so it's hard to stay organized if you're working away at something, whether that be like a task you're doing, you're something in the yard or whatever it may be. If we are also trying to stay on top of social media, are also trying to do other things. So I really believe in turning off as many distractions as I can. And then, hey, when I get my to-do list done or I've worked through my calendar, I can welcome a free-for-all, that's fine. But when I'm accomplishing those things, I really like to just think about and be intentional about how many distractions can I eliminate. Another one then is taming your email. So whether this is a work email or a personal email, emails can really kind of build up and make us feel overwhelmed. It's kind of interesting for something that's not like an item that you can touch or feel, how our electronic things can build up. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a bit more detail. So I mentioned turning off distractions. I want to dive into this a little bit more. This, I can tell you, I have done a great job with. Be disciplined in cell phone notifications. When I think about all the apps I have on my phone, all the things that we use, different, again, kind of social media, texting, emails, Amazon, anything that we're always kind of hearing about in real time, your phone could just be dinging all day. I mean, heck, they're probably the notifications are fighting over each other to get to you. So I like to actually have all of my phone notifications shut off and then check them when I'm ready to. So in my family, we have kind of a rule that if there's something we need right away or urgent, we call one another. And then we, everyone kind of knows that we're going to check text when we can. Constant interruptions, so whether it's that cell phone ding or it's just kind of like getting distracted by something, destroy our concentration. And I've seen different and researched different quotes about minutes, But the takeaway is it takes the human brain several minutes to return to the original task after an interruption. So as adults, we're not quite as agile maybe as we were when we were kids. And so it takes us a few minutes to kind of get reoriented to what we were trying to do. And I'm sure you've read this before, but multitasking is a myth. It is not possible to do multiple things at once. When we're trying to multitask and do a couple things, what happens is our brain is bouncing around between those things, but it's not at one point in time focused directly on all of them. So this is, again, something I feel like I get coached on a lot. I've read a lot about, I tell others to do. I once in a while find myself trying to multitask, and then I just kind of remind myself, my brain is not doing multiple things at once. What it's doing is bouncing around fast. So I'll probably be more effective if I deep dive into something, complete it, and then deep dive into the next thing. Your email. So we probably have multiple email accounts. I know I have a few personal email accounts. I have my work email accounts. I have an email account for the university that I teach at. There's a lot of email going on, and it can get out of control. We feel probably a little bogged down if we see, oh, I have 10 or 12 emails or 20 emails. Then a few days go by and it's like, oh, now I have 140 emails. I know my husband, on one of his personal things, he has like, it says 999, which I don't think I could handle if I said that. But I do have some good tips for emails, and I want to take you through that on the next 2 slides here. First of all, I had to have a talk with myself in my emails and decide I am the boss of these emails. So I like to do a few things to keep my email under control. And since I've started employing these approaches, I find that that kind of overwhelming feeling goes away. So I like to treat my email like physical mail. So when I get my mail out of the mailbox and I go through it, there's some junk mail that I tell right away is junk, so I usually rip it in half and throw it away. I don't spend any more time on it than just a few seconds to do that. There's nice things in there, so maybe it's a some sort of holiday card or a birthday card, or someone has mailed a thank you note. I open those and I spend time to really, really appreciate them and take that in. And then there's this kind of third category that I call the necessities that I have to approach in an organized fashion. And I'm going to take you through some details on that in just a moment. But think about this applied to your email. When you go through your email, and however it is you like to do it, by alphabetically, by sender, by date, whatever works for you, and you're working through that loud mess of communications, think about that. If it's something that's junk, just get rid of it right away. If it's something nice, sit back and really take it in. And then for all those other items, I like to encourage the 4 Ds model. This was shared with me a long time ago by somebody who was my manager at the time and was really kind of life-changing for me. So when I'm looking at those necessities, if you will, the 4 Ds model will tell us to do, delete, delegate, or defer. So when I'm opening an email, if it's going to take me 90 seconds or less, I'll just do it. Maybe I have to reply back, yes, I'll be there. Or maybe I say, I received the item. Whatever the case may be, if it takes just 90 seconds or less, I'll go ahead and do it. If it's junk or something I don't need, or maybe something I was included on, but I don't need to take any action, I just delete it right away. Maybe it's something that someone else can do. For example, my daughter's going through the college application process. I get a lot of emails that she should really be looking at, so I'll delegate those. I'll go ahead and send those to her. And then lastly, defer. So if the email is going to take more than 90 seconds, it's more than a couple sentence reply, I actually schedule time to address it. So I think, okay, my day opens up at 4, or I don't have anything to do Saturday morning, I can spend some time on this. So again, this allows us to do that quick cleanup, stay in a rhythm of keeping things minimal, and then giving time to the things that are super important. Prioritization then, this is really critical. The definition of prioritize is to determine the order for dealing with a series of items or tasks according to their relative importance. Now, there are some days where it seems like everything is a priority, and those are going to happen. And so practicing prioritization and building up that nice prioritization muscle will help us be ready for those days where it seems like everything is equally as important and we don't really know how to manage it. So when it comes to prioritization, I set up all my to-do lists that way. I think about that. And then here's a couple key points I want to address here. First of all, when you can fix things, don't work around them. I think about this with a screen door issue that we had at our house recently. The screen door had to it was off the track. So it kind of had to be like shaken and then like moved over and then opened. The first time that was necessary to get the door open, but then we just kind of got used to it. And if you think about over time, normally it's pretty, quick to open a screen door. But over time, when we just kind of accepted and worked around this broken screen door, that time adds up, right? And the frustration adds up. And so when you are able to, or maybe you schedule time to do this, really think about what are things that I work around on that I should probably just pause and make a permanent fix on. Avoiding perfectionism is important too. Sometimes we think, oh, this item could be a little better. It's just not quite right, whatever the case may be. But there is a saying that says, don't let perfect get in the way of great. And I really think that's an important reminder for us all that sometimes the time that we're spending like getting things absolutely perfect when they're already really, really darn good could be spent maybe in other places with family or taking some downtime. And then when you need help, ask for help. So let people know when you need help, and try when you can to challenge yourself to not view that as a failure. Sometimes we don't want to ask for help because we think that if we do, it means we couldn't accomplish it, or we don't want to show weakness or things of that nature. But sometimes you just need help. Sometimes you need to split up maybe chores or duties around the house, or someone has a skill and you want them to share that with you. But that can be a hard one. And so we all need help sometimes. And so I would encourage you to not be shy to ask when you need it. The neat thing about asking for help too is, as humans, we often like to help other people. So when we help someone else, we feel good about it. So think about it. By asking for help, you're getting the help that you need, and someone else is feeling good about it. Lastly, here with time management too, there is a saying about eating the frog. So what this means is when you have something that you're dreading doing, or it's going to be the biggest time consuming thing, you should do that thing first thing in the morning, because your day is only going to get better from there. So if there's something that is just like, oh, I really don't want to do this thing, maybe it's getting groceries or something that you just dread taking the time to do. If you knock that out first thing, you don't have it weighing on you all day, and everything will just get a little smoother from there. So I'm going to go ahead and shift into some items for personal development and career growth and things that I think are important, and things that have been helpful for me. I can't take credit for this list. I've had the blessing over many years to have so many great leaders, mentors, that sort of thing, people who have given me great advice that I have incorporated into my, practice. And I want to share those things with you. So when it makes sense, if it's right for you, you could consider feeding your intellectual curiosity in these ways. One is formal education. That could mean a degree, but that could mean taking a class. It could mean learning something online. There's a lot of different ways that we can formally educate ourselves, and I'm going to give you some examples here. Becoming members of professional organizations that are important to you are a great way to learn about the environment that you're in, that you're working in, or you're interested in joining. For me, I have many memberships to professional nursing organizations, so I can always know what's going on with nursing. Certifications are a great way to feed your intellectual curiosity. I hold 2 certifications, so I'm a certified nephrology nurse, but also a certified professional in patient safety. And so those are things that I learned an intensive amount about, and then was able to go through the requirements to be eligible for certification. And I stay up on those certifications through things I need to do to renew them at the required frequency. E-news is awesome. This can also be overwhelming. There's so many different ways to sign up to be on listservs and things. So news you're interested in will come into your inbox. So I guess no surprise to you, most of my e-news is related to healthcare and nursing. But I sign up for what I'm interested in. And then when I kind of get a lot of things that I didn't sign up for, I don't always read those things. I read the ones that I committed to. And so it helps me when I'm trying to figure out how to prioritize when I'm intaking. Mentorship is so important. And I encourage you to do this 2 ways. Find somebody who is a mentor for you. For me, I have 5 people I consider my own personal board of directors. So I talk to them about things when I'm reflecting on my leadership or thinking about things I want to do in the future, because I so value them. And I get a lot of great feedback from them. But then also I have individuals who are my mentees. So I'm their mentor, and I learn just as much from my interactions with them as I do reaching out to my mentors. So think about, who are you mentoring, and who would you like to mentor you? And then there's just countless opportunities to read things, to listen to podcasts, which is something I've been spending more time doing, and just any opportunities you have from your employers. So many employers have wonderful opportunities for great ways to learn more skills. So I want to talk to you a little bit about a topic of making your voice heard, leading through influence. So as you move through your journey, there's going to be a lot of times where you have great value to add, and are looking for the right forum to share that information. So influence is, I think, just a really neat thing. We're all influencing every day, and sometimes we don't even know that we're influencing others. And so it's really important, I think, to be intentional about influencing and thinking about what are the things and changes that are important to you. Influence, however, is like a marathon. There's a lot of prep for influence. So we can't just show up somewhere and just tell people what we think they should be doing, or a change that we think we should make, and expect that they're all going to say, great, where do we start, right? So we have to build a foundation, or kind of train, if you will, to get ready for the big marathon, or in this case, the big influence. So one thing I think is really critical is starting with an emotional bank account. So it's important to understand when we're asking people for others, whether that be to influence them or asking them for other things, it's important to think about this as a bank account where we've invested in them, they'll invest in us, or we've shown value to them, and they will think about the item that we're trying to influence. So when I'm interacting with people, I really like to make sure that I'm not doing all the taking. I like to try to make sure that I'm giving to them as well. This is important in professional work and that sort of thing. But boy, it's important in general. I think about this with my kids, with my friends, with my family members, just to make sure that I'm once in a while just being mindful to make sure that we've got some balance there. Establishing credibility is really important too. There's a bunch of ways to establish credibility. I've called out just a few here. One is by being honest. To me, somebody who I view as honest and has integrity is always somebody that is going to have credibility with me, and so I'm more likely to be influenced by them. People who speak with clarity or help me understand what the goals are that we're trying to reach will have credibility with me because I understand where we're trying to go, so I can think through how I can contribute or add value to that journey. People who are competent, so individuals who have demonstrated knowledge in a space. For example, Anthony has been able to put all sorts of great meetings together. He pulls us all together. He's our leader in all this. He's competent. When he asks me to show up and do something, I feel like he's honest. I clearly understand what he wants me to do. He's certainly competent here, and he has a lot of credibility with me. And then accomplishments. So sometimes it's important to share your past experience if you want to influence. So you can say, hey, I one time did this action, took this step, whatever, that I think I could apply here, and start to build credibility that way. Additionally, involving others is so important, and we can all take a quick time out to just take in this adorable little kitty cat picture. It's, I think, so important to involve others just along our whole journey, particularly when we think about influencing. There's just not much we can accomplish alone. I talked about when we need help earlier and when we can help others. We're all in this together. There's just so much that we can do when we work with one another and collaborate. And ask questions of others. Everyone, and this is a quote that I've heard before, everyone that you meet knows something you don't know. It's really wild to think about. No other person has the exact same background, knowledge, experience that you have. And so we all have something that no one else has to bring and to add. Demonstrating empathetic and active listening is so important. Have you ever spoken to somebody and you can tell that they're maybe more involved on their phone or kind of looking at their watch because they're in a hurry to get out, or maybe just kind of zoned out and not listening? People establish credibility with us and can influence us when we know that they're actively listening and listening to hear what we have to say, not just being ready to respond. Identifying mutual goals is so important too. So lots of times we're all trying to get to the same place. It's just aligning the steps to take to get there. So I also like to say, kind of walk the walk. Don't just maybe tell people to do all those things on the other slide. It's really important that we actually take and role model the actions. So when we're thinking about how we want to influence people, again, thinking about being clear, consistent, and accountable, and role modeling what it is you want others to do. One thing that I think is critical in building ourselves and to leading through influence, to establishing credibility, and to getting others to join whatever it is you're trying to accomplish or to be your supporters, is to just demonstrate infectious enthusiasm, I like to call it. It's so important to just be genuine and to share your passion with whatever it is that you're focused on. Again, you have a great example here with Anthony. And just generate excitement regarding mutual goals. Some of the things that we participate in life are challenging. They're not happy, they're not uplifting, that's for sure. But trying to find that enthusiasm wherever we can, I think is really important. Others will catch it. And if you think about walking into a room and saying, hello, I'm here, other people will probably get excited. If we walk into that room and say, oh, it's raining outside and everything is terrible today, other people probably pull the energy in that room down. So thinking about being that bright light where you can. So now that we've taken all these great steps to do all these things and we've influenced where we want to, it's really important to stop and take a moment and celebrate that win, both with the people involved, but the people that contributed in any way along the way. Think about promoting continuous improvement. So I like to do this with myself and with the things that I'm involved in, like where can I improve more or learn more, or in some cases, remove unnecessary steps. I think sometimes we get caught up with thinking of improvement or growth as adding. But lots of times it's taking away things that aren't relevant or helpful any longer. In building and maintaining new relationships, I think possibly the greatest joy in life is other people and meeting new people, keeping strong relationships, and just sharing in the joy of others. So we talked a lot about success, and when things are going great, sometimes they don't. Sometimes things don't go the way you wanted them to or as planned, or I mean, just to be very, like, I guess, brutally candid, sometimes we just fail. And that's all part of life. That's part of every aspect of life. Think of babies learning new skills, think of young kids trying new things. That as we grow up, the failure does not go away. So I like to think of failing as failing forward. So when something goes wrong, I say, let yourself feel bad about it for a little bit. Go ahead and have a good cry, do whatever it is that you like to do when you just have that feeling of letdown. But then I would also encourage you to take time to reflect on it and understand what can be learned. I personally have not experienced a failure that didn't come with some sort of lesson to learn. And it's so important to pick that lesson up, put it in your toolkit, and have it for the future. It is disappointing. I don't want to minimize that. When things don't go as we want them to, it's so frustrating and there's a lot of emotions involved. But once the space is given for those to clear, just try to think about the failures objectively. All people make mistakes. So if you haven't made one yet, that's great. You've had a long run. You probably will make one in the future. So you can apply this advice there. But I know I have a lot of mistakes and a lot of things that haven't gone the way I wanted to, but I like to learn from them and hopefully not do the same thing twice, or maybe even out of one failure, experience a great success because I took the lessons learned there and applied it. This is, I think, the most important thing, though, when we talk about leadership and building ourselves and adding value. I think the most important thing that we can do is take a moment and build gratitude into our processes and everything that we do. I love the opportunity to send any sort of thank you card I can or small token of recognition to others. Verbal thank yous are probably the two most powerful words you can tell somebody. Second to I love you is probably thank you. And for me, I learned this lesson at a conference, I think 15 or 20 years ago, to put gratitude on your calendar so you practice it weekly. And so one trick that I have is every Monday morning, I think about who I'm going to recognize and show gratitude or recognition to, and I don't let myself start my work week until I make a plan for that. Sometimes I can do it in real time. Other times I might want to write a note or save the thank you for a special day, but I make a plan every Monday morning. I've been doing that for 15 to 20 years. And the neat thing about extending gratitude, again, it was kind of like the help that I talked about. When you extend gratitude to somebody and give them a detailed thank you or some sort of heartfelt communication, they feel good when they receive it, and you feel good when you deliver it. So it's just all this feeling good connected to one action. And who doesn't like feeling good? So I'm gonna wrap up with the sharing and hopefully do a little Q&A and dialogue because boy, I have been talking a lot here. But I told you at our house, we always liked Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story when my kids were growing up. And so we include a lot of quotes from the movie in just about anything we do. But you just have all the potential in the world. I hope that some of the things I shared with you today give you new insight or help you think of something new. But mostly I would end with have confidence in yourself. You're your best cheerleader. Sadly, sometimes it can also be our best negative talker. So have confidence in yourself and be kind to yourself. constantly seek improvement and think about what are even the tiniest ways I can add to my toolkit, and just don't underestimate your impact. For me, I'm living this in real time. I have a daughter who's going to be going to nursing school next year. And I guess I didn't realize she was watching the whole time. I didn't realize that she was seeing how fulfilled in my profession that I was in the work that I did. And she shared that with me, and I haven't known about that for 18 years. So people are watching you and learning from you and admiring you. So just never underestimate that. So I want to thank you for letting me share this with you. I hope it was helpful. Like I said, I can't take credit for creating any of this. I've learned along the way from a lot of people. So I gave you just even one or two things to walk away with, and you can share those with others as well. So with that, Anthony, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and
All right, there. I think we're good. Hang on just a second. Let me change this over. There we go. So, well, I appreciate it, Mandy, for you coming and speaking to us and to our audience. We have had some interaction within the chat here, and then within actually on social media channels as well. I've been looking at that as well. So, but first of all, once again, thank you so much for a great presentation. And I think this is exactly what lit my fire when it was at NANT because I saw that, and I was sitting there. I'll never forget. I was sitting there in the audience. It's like, these are the things that I've learned, and I've been, this is the stuff I've been wanting to hear other people speak on, other than just through CDs or those other different things. So I think that was absolutely amazing. So I want to thank you for that. So one of the things is, and let me look at some of the comments. And Dr. Noopy, all the way from the UK, she stated that definitely stronger together. So I think this is a comment she made during your speech, during the thing is that she made. She says, we also have something to learn from each other, which is very, very true. And then listening to understand and create understanding and lead by example. So it seems like Dr. Noopy took a lot from what you were speaking about. So yeah, we appreciate Dr. Noopy for tuning in. I think Carol said something. She said, great information. Thanks so much for the reminders. Here's a question from me. In 2020, as we all know, there was a great change in the world. It was COVID. And since then, it seems like there has been in the workforce, we see a lot of different things, staff shortages, all these other negative things, so to speak. How do people take these lessons and apply them now? A lot of times they'll be saying they're overworked, they're overstressed, I'm just barely lucky to get through the day. What would be your recommendation on how to start applying these lessons to their life?
Well, when we're caught up in the moment, it's hard to observe what lessons we want to learn and what we did well and what we wish we would have done differently. So I think your question is so timely. This is a great time to reflect on the past few years. I'm a big fan of writing things down. Again, we can't really control what goes on in our minds, but we can control what we pull out of there and put on a piece of paper. And so when I'm reflecting on a situation, whether it be something as small as like a meeting or as large as what you've described, I like to write down what did I do well here? And so maybe that was staying safe, or maybe it was figuring out how to have something delivered to your home, or figuring out how to navigate in a world without public transportation or something of that nature. What did I do well? Like, what did I figure out? What did I learn there? And then also now reflection, like, geez, if I would have known in May of 2020 what I know now, what would I have done different? What could I have changed? And just taking time to note that and reflect on it. And then again, be intentional about applying those things in the future. One thing I think is important when we reflect on things, though, is don't beat yourself up for not knowing then what you know now. So time has passed, you went through the experience, you learned new things, so don't beat yourself up. just make an objective list and think about what to do in the future.
Awesome. Wonderful. And then I would agree with that as well, 100% on that one. Now, here's another question that I think is a interesting one. Uh, does this just apply to those that have titles, or can this be to anybody?
This is applicable to anybody. So the things I sharing today are the same things that I talk to my own kids about. The same things that we have them apply to school, like even when they're like, I have so much homework, I don't know what to do. And you can see the tears are starting to form. It's like, all right, let's talk about it. What are all the things you have to do? Let's write a number next to them in order of what's most critical to least critical. We'll do it in that order. We'll take some breaks in between. And so these are things that are applicable to all of us. I mean, the holidays are coming up soon. People are going to start feeling overwhelmed with that. It can be, I think these are things that matter to everybody. And probably not all, like all of the 80 things I shared with you or whatever that was, not all of those are going to apply to every single person. So pull the things out that apply to you and try those out. That's what I do.
Yes. And Carol said, oh, the holidays.
Yeah. I mean, so many things are overwhelming. I know, like, we think mostly like maybe about work or school or things like that, but just there's so many things that are overwhelming. So when you're starting to get that feeling in your chest, like fight or flight is kicking in and you're starting to feel overwhelmed, that's a great time to be like, I cannot help that these things are happening, but what I can help is what I'm going to do about it.
Exactly. When everything is going bonkers, the kids are running here and there, and you're trying to go get your last minute Christmas shopping done, and you forgot your keys at home, and you locked your keys in the car.
Yeah. They'll make a great story later.
It'll make a great story later, right? And also, Carol said it was great tips for the kids. And I think that's also another fascinating thing is that you're teaching your kids. Start them early, ladies and gentlemen. Start them early in personal development and all these different things. Start them early on building their confidence in themselves. Because if you start them, you never know where they're going to end up. You never know what kind of positive impact they're going to do in ways. So I really like how you kind of went towards that way with focusing on your kids. Is there any questions in our live audience here? And I'm still looking at the thing. And while we're waiting to see if any of y'all have a question, raise your hand if you're in the Zoom room and you have a question, and I can unmute you and you can ask it. But when it comes to that, you talked about reading, right? And so one of the things is I enjoy reading. What book have you been reading or that has inspired you the most?
I'll share with you the most recent book that I read that I've referred to a few others is by Adam Grant, and it's Think Again. And it's to sum it up in a few sentences, it's about thinking differently and maybe understanding that there are better ways to do things or new ways you haven't learned of yet, but really kind of trying to eliminate assumptions that everything that you are doing is because it's the right way. Sometimes we get learned practices or we just haven't been open to other experiences. And so thinking differently. So I've been talking about this book a lot at work and home, and just trying to get everyone to pause and understand is this the best way to do something?
Yeah. I think, and that's the other thing too. For this, I'm able to take some things home with me as well. And that's the key component. You take as much as you can from here and from there, and then apply it to your own philosophy of life. And I think anybody listening to this, and the thing is, it's not just a one. This event is just not just a one time. There's going to be a replay, so people will be able to go back and watch this. And to all of our audience, if you find this inspiring, share it with your audience, and to any, just share it through your social media channels. However, because I think this is so needed in today's world. All of this, and if people apply even just one of these lessons that Mandy has taught, it could change your life. It could really change your life. And other than that, I don't have any other questions right now? Is there any last comments you would like to leave with the audience, Mandy?
Yeah, I would say that like you are enough. You're so valuable. You have so much to contribute. Sometimes we're the last ones to recognize that about ourselves. Other people may have to remind us of that once in a while. But I just feel like investing in yourself, fueling your passions, is what makes the world go round. So I invite everyone to feel empowered to do that.
Yes. And Steve said it's so important what Mandy shared today for all new and existing business owners and entrepreneurships. And that is so true for those that are out there that are starting a new business or thinking about it, whether it's a business, nonprofit, maybe a side gig, an entrepreneur. You can take these lessons and apply them to what you're going to do. Start now. That's the thing. Create habits. Start it now. Other than that, I think we have, Mandy, once again, I thank you a great deal for taking time out of your busy day to come speak to us at the KT Building You conference. And we're really excited that you were here today, and I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All righty, guys, we will see you at the next session at 1 o'clock, which is 2 hours away. And we'll see how that one goes because I'm speaking.